Good morning and good afternoon. Our group will be tackling about the chapter 10's Noli Me Tángere continuing relevance. In this chapter, we will dive deeper on the Noli's legacy, its relevance, and how the novel continues to resonate beyond its time. To begin with, here are the learning objectives for this chapter. At the end of this chapter, the student should be able to appreciate the importance of Rizal as a thinker and relate the issues raised in the novel to the changing landscape of the contemporary world. While the Noli Me Tángere triggered social conversations in the late 19th century in the Philippines, it is important to note how the novel continues to resonate beyond its time and also rests its timelessness in terms of present-day social issues and political or economic realities. In this chapter, we will tackle about Noli's legacy and continuing relevance, Rizal as a social scientist, Noli as it was published after Rizal's time, and the study of a colonial society.
Noli after its first publication. At present, Noli Me Tángere is considered by many as a landmark piece of literature in his account of literary history of the Philippines. The themes of novel revolve around the societal issue experienced in the Philippines under the Spanish colonial rule. As such, the novel did not go unnoticed and became a subject of discussions and debate. Scholar Rizal Mojares even went to the extent of naming Rizal as the father of the Filipino novel. In the immediate months and years after its release in 1887, the novel generated reactions from readers, Filipinos and foreigners alike. Responses ranged from praise to outright ridicule. One sector that exposed utmost disdain for the novel was the Spanish clergy as well as some Spanish colonial officials. It is thus understandable that Spanish friars vehemently prohibited the circulation of the novels in 1887. When Fray Salvador Font, chair of the Censorship Commission, outlawed the reading and possessions of Rizal's novel, many other friars assessed and judged the book as pernicious. They enjoined devout Catholics not to read the novel to avoid committing capital sins. One of the staunch critics of the novel was the Spanish academic Vicente Barrentes, who wrote several articles in the Spanish newspaper ridiculing Rizal as the man of contradiction. Barrentes lamented the Rizal lambasting of the friars, and the Spaniard was reflective of the author and telling more about the Filipino. Many of his colleagues in the propaganda movement praised his novel. One example is Marcelo H. Del Pilar, who even wrote essays. In response to critique of the Nole, Rizal's friend, Ferdinand Blumentritt, also an academic, also expressed support for the novel.
As the Noli stirred controversy in social circles in the 19th century Philippines, it is remarkable to realize that even beyond its time, the novel continued to be a subject of debate and discussion. In the immediate years after its publication, the Noli was translated into several languages. One of the earliest translations of the novel was done in French. Many scholars posit that there were early attempts, one was by Blumentritt, to translate the novel into German, and even in Tagalog, which was attempted by Rizal's brother Pasiano. These plans, however, never came into fruition. At the turn of the 20th century, during the American colonial period, several translations and editions of the novel came out. Arguably the most circulated versions were the English translations of Charles Derbyshire. By the 1930s, Rizal's Noli had several Spanish editions, translations into English, French, Japanese, and also into several languages in the Philippines, including Tagalog, Cebuano, Waray, Iloco, and Bicol. The very controversy that surrounded the passage of the Rizal Law indicated the relevance of the text in the 1950s and even beyond. In academia, many scholars have also made it a point to discuss the politics of translation and the nuances of transforming the text in several forms. As Testa de Ocampo points out, as much as the novel is elevated in the highest echelons of the Philippine literary history, seldom do we find Filipinos reading it in the original Spanish. Versions and translations of the Noli also did not go without scrutiny from academics like Benedict Anderson. Truly, be it about its content, context, or the way it is read or used, the value of Rizal's novel is definitely felt in the Philippines.
Noli and the Study of a Colonial Society. A remarkable aspect of Rizal's Noli lies in its text, which exposed the national hero's articulations of a social scientific view of the 19th century Philippines he was describing. Sociologist Sid Farid Alatas even went as far as describing Rizal as probably the first systematic social thinker in Southeast Asia. Taken together with Rizal's other writings, the Noli makes an important contribution to the understanding of a colonial society and of the workings of the Spanish Empire in the Philippines. The novel itself portrayed the lives of the characters of diverse positions from which people in 19th century Philippines thought and acted in relation to others. Many scholars also interpret the Noli as Rizal's diagnosis of the ills of colonial society, as he assessed the role played by the church, the state, and the people. So makikita natin dito na inihahalin tulad ni Rizal sa sakit na kanser ang lumalalang kalagayan ng ating bansa na kung hindi maaagapan ay tuluyang ikakamatay ng bansa sa kamay ng mga taong nagbigay ng naturang malalang karamdaman, and that is the church, the state, and the people itself. In his novel Noli Me Tángere, Rizal highlighted some of his ideas on how the Philippine society could be emancipated from the bondage of colonial rule. He also underscored the importance of education as a powerful tool to achieve progress. However, he also exposed the complexities and constraints wrought by the colonial condition not only on the foreigners but also on some misguided Filipinos that contributed to the ills of society. Despite of the negative realities of the context he wrote about, he emphasized the good qualities of the Filipinos, which needed to be harnessed in order to succeed in the struggle for emancipation.
In summary, Noli Me Tángere highlighted its impact on the Philippine society as well as on the disciplines such as literature, history, and the social sciences. Noli is not just a literary piece, it is also a political, historical, and social scientific treatise about the conditions in the Philippines during the late 19th century. The novel also continues to stimulate discussions up to the present, and its themes remain worthy of the debate.